thank you, Melanie. I'm excited about this one, y'all. So I want to jump right in. So our panel is about UX and the vision around UX. And so I'm just going to kind of start off here. I'll start off with you, Alanna, if that's okay. The question is, how do you encourage your team to use UX in your daily work?
So even if you notice when we were getting up here, we were thinking about our user experience, right? Because we want to be in order for everyone in the way that the names are listed. So for me and my team, UX is really part of our culture, and this is something that's really important to me. So I'm starting to ingrain it into our team's culture, meaning in everything that we do, be it a press release, be it a website, be it something that's tangible, we're always thinking about the experience, and we're always thinking about our customer, right? Or whoever's going to be on the receiving end of this information. Something that I'm really big on is simplifying. How can we make this the most simple and easy to understand possible? I love that you're already talking about AI, because I'm a huge fan of AI. But if you're using acronyms and then it's translating to another language, it's not going to pick up on those acronyms. So there's small little things, but they all kind of go together to make a big difference in what we do.
Thank you, Alanna. Brian, the same question. What do you encourage for the team to incorporate UX into their projects?
Yeah, so being the Office of Innovation, and working with all 40 plus departments and ranging from topics from digital inclusion to smart cities to process improvement. A lot of times we're trying to figure out what the hell we're going to do next. So that's really where the UX part comes into play for us, is listening first to our residents and making sure we actually know what the challenges and the needs and the opportunities are within the communities in San Antonio and Greater Bexar County. Another angle to that is also making sure that UX isn't just applicable to external folks. That when we're working with those 40 departments, that we're listening first, that we're understanding what their needs are and how to work best with them, what works best for them, what kind of communication cadence or format works best for them. So not forgetting that. I think at times within city government, we forget that our customers are also partner departments. How do we make it as easy for them and make it more beneficial than a burden?
Veronica, how about you with the neighborhood and housing? How do you incorporate it with your team?
Yes, so our department serves families in San Antonio that are really vulnerable. A lot of them are low to moderate income. They're experiencing unstable housing situations. Maybe they're behind on their rent, or they got an eviction notice, or they have owned their home for years and it has a lot of deferred maintenance, and then they got a notice from code saying, your electrical isn't up to code and you may not be able to live here. So those are the families that we really serve. So a lot of what we do with our team is encourage, pretend like that's your mom or your grandma or someone who is in a very difficult situation. There's a lot of information that's coming at them and they really don't know what to do. So how can we help them? And one thing that we did recently was with the ITSD, a lot of departments are doing this, is kind of redesigned our website. And the old website would go, well, you need rental assistance? Well, that's on our website. And so you kind of had to know, well, obviously, rental assistance is under the Housing Access and Stability team, so you want to click on that. And then you want to navigate to our housing assistance program, clearly, and then click on that. And then maybe somewhere further down in one of those links, there's about 30 of them, you'll see the rental assistance portal. And so that's where you go. And so we really looked at that, talked to our staff, talked to some of our frontline workers who are receiving all the calls, and then of course talking to some people who are in the community and just kind of getting that feedback. We totally redesigned that. So now when you go to our website, there's a whole little block with a person picture, and it says renters, help for renters. So you click on that, and then you not just learn that there's rental assistance, but some of the other many programs that we provide. So it's really kind of listening and then taking that feedback and really trying to see, how would my neighbor or my grandma get this information and really, really understand from it?
That's amazing. Mario, I don't think I could have teed it up better for you as the leader of our web team. So how do you guys incorporate it on the website?
Well, first off, I want to thank everyone for taking a little bit of time out of your day to spend the day with us. So thank you for that. And really for our team, because the web team is part of ITSD, it starts off with our leadership, having buy-in at that leadership level. And it really starts off at the very top with Eric Walsh, our city manager, having his buy-in and support. And that trickles down. So through IT, you're looking at Craig Hopkins, who's our CIO, Kevin Goodwin, our CTO, Louise Craig, our experienced architect. So having that support from that top level on down really gives me the ammunition that I need to support my team. So when it comes to our web team and we're dealing with our customers, I try to remind everyone on our team that we really are advocates for the resident. A lot of times when you're a part of an organization, it's easy to start to get involved in conversation or solutioning or problems more from our perspective. So I really challenge our team to take that step back, to represent the resident and be the advocate for the resident. So, in cases, even if it means being a disruptor, asking the difficult questions, maybe taking a step back, shifting left to see, are we really solving for the right problem? Are we doing the right thing for the right reason? So, but again, having that support from the top, leveling up our team to give us the proper training that we need. A lot of our team has gone through CUA training, which is Certified Usability Analyst training, to get that experience and education to help the user and the resident with our solutions. So, thank you.
Mario, I want to extend on that a little
Yeah.
bit if I could. So that are some of the things that y'all are doing. What about roadblocks? What about things that are preventing y'all from some of the UX experience work?
Well, for our team, I think that it's because we're trying to change the culture of an entire organization. The city is a very large enterprise, and we do have pockets where this is starting to come out. But we're really trying to shift the entire culture more towards user-centered design. So I think for us, it's just having the resources that we need. They've been really great in providing us some more resources, but I think that continues to need to scale as we go through this. And processes, having processes in place that help us to do this in a consistent manner over time. So right now there's times where, I'll admit we kind of wing it, through some of our reviews and things like that. So, but we're trying to recognize that and come up with some processes that we can rely on moving forward.
Veronica, same question. How do y'all deal with some of the roadblocks in some of the work that you do?
Yeah, a lot of our roadblocks come from, there's just so much need in the city, and there's a lot of things that we want to do to help. And we have limited, like Mario said, we have limited resources. So our roadblock stems from, where do we start? And how do we know that that's the best place to start? And if we update that, adapt that, how is that going to impact all of our other work? So if we start with this one item, do we also need to look at item D at the same time? Because that's going to impact that. So really kind of, we have desire to move quickly and make improvements and help more people as soon as we can. But the challenge is to make sure that we stop. Progress moves at the speed of trust. So we have to make sure that what we're doing makes sense across the board, and how is it going to impact the resident in the long run. And so sometimes that means we do have to be a little more thoughtful in our approach. We have to slow down. I wanted to update that website right away, but the way that it makes sense in my head maybe isn't the best way to redesign the whole website. So we really kind of had to slow it down, have a couple of mini focus groups with residents. It took longer that way, but the end result wound up being better.
Ryan, I don't think you probably ever have to experience any kind of roadblocks or anything, right?
Yeah, no roadblocks on our end. No, I think for city government, in comparing it to like private sector is a good comparison. So private sector, you improve your investment in inclusivity, accessibility, user-centered design. You expect the difference in your bottom line. You get more profit, so you can invest more into those spaces. The city government, if you do a good job of it, you don't get more money for it. You're not increasing your revenue, you're just doing better for your residents. And I think that's something that relates directly to the staffing levels, is we don't have that funding to truly invest in, like you would see a private sector invest in advertisements or outreach or service providing. I think that's a huge gap. Not to mention in city government, we're pretty reactive in nature. To be able to give us the time to really focus in on UX and inclusivity and accessibility requires us to take that time to do it. And for innovation, by the time I get through that process, whatever I was trying to achieve is probably going to be obsolete. And that's the challenge we're trying to figure out is how do we do this more rapidly, but keep the same level of quality?
Alanna, for communications and engagement, how do y'all?
Yeah,
deal with it?
so I mean, all of this and consistency. So for us, it's very much about consistency in our look and feel, knowing that part of the user experience is building trust. And when, as a city, we can have that consistency in what we're calling things or their experience on the website, that helps build that trust. And to what both Veronica and Brian said, that takes time, like going out there and measuring it and testing it and then retesting it. That all like takes a lot of time. And in government, you don't always have that time. There's a lot of pressure to get it done and get it done now. So we're really working from both ends of the spectrum to a certain extent of trying to put the information out there quickly, but also trying to always make sure that we're consistent at the same time. And it goes back to our employees as well. Like we rely on our employees to be consistent. And it's kind of difficult when you have 40 departments as well. So us working together as a team, understanding that at the end of the day, we just want it to be a seamless experience for everyone and for everyone to have the information that they most need.
Alanna, I think that really helps tee up the last question that I have for the panel. And it is, how do you identify an outcome or problem around some of the areas that you're trying to apply UX to?
I did tee that up for you, didn't I?
Yeah, that's great.
Obviously, feedback, and more feedback. And a lot of that can be conversational. Some of the best feedback that we get is actually going out in the community and asking people, doing that user testing, asking the right questions, measuring the results and documenting it, and then trying to make those progressive changes. So that's what works really well for us. And we're trying to do more statistically valid kinds of things as well. So for example, our community survey. We've hired a company that comes in and is doing a statistically valid survey. So therefore, we're making sure that it reflects everyone in our community and not just the people that are the most vocal about participating. Equity is really important to us, and we want to make sure that we're doing an equitable job at receiving that feedback.
How about innovation for outcomes and problem identification?
Yeah, same as Alanna said, it's a constant dialogue and a constant maintaining of relationships with your community members and your partners. Not just when you need something, not just when you need to know what the next thing is, but understanding how impactful was the last thing that you did. Maybe you need to work on that more instead of bringing something new in. I think it's also a balance of kind of trying to predict, especially when it comes to innovation. So right now, all right, how many of you want to know everything about data? What the city has, what we can do with it, how we can utilize it? Okay, I got some hands raised. How many of you voted that as a top priority in the budget? Okay, so that's where we know there's an interest in it. And if it's not happening right now and it's not high on that priority list, we're trying to predict a little bit on how we can start down that path before all you come to us and say, what the hell y'all been doing? I want to be able to say, we've been planning it. We're good. We're ready to go. But at the same vein, there's things that you have identified in the budget, from public safety to streets and sidewalks, those traditional issues, that we want to hear that constant dialogue as we're messing up or as we're improving. I want to hear that. I want to hear it in the format of a squawk, but that's really where that's at. So not always being reactionary, but sometimes proactive.
Veronica, you guys in neighborhood housing, y'all worked on your strategic housing implementation plan. I'm sure that y'all had to go through this. How did you identify problems and outcomes?
Yeah, so in the housing department, to use the squawk, we get a lot of suggestions every day. Everyone has so many suggestions for our work. So for us, it's twofold. It's really looking for the patterns in those suggestions when not just one person has a suggestion or raises a critical issue. If it's consistent that we're hearing that same concern, complaint over and over and over again, that's when we know, okay, this isn't just a one-off one issue form that had a typo and that caused some concern. This is a persistent problem. So when we really see those patterns and what our customer feedback is, that really helps us kind of narrow our focus of where do we work on our next area of improvement and opportunity. So that's one way. And then the other way is also working with all of our partners and stakeholders. There is a lot of need. There's no way one department or even one organization can tackle all of that. So our strategic housing plan was kind of the foundation of that, where we had to work with not just the city, but this is a problem that is within the whole county as well. We have our local housing authority that's helping address this, and we have our nonprofit housing trust, plus about 90 different partners, nonprofits that are also working in this space. So the housing plan was meant to bring together all of those partners, look for those consistent themes and patterns of areas where they're saying, this is going to move the needle, this is what we need, here's where our resources need to go. And that's what our 10-year plan does, and that's what we're working on.
You know, I think that really has kind of a nice connection with the web team too, right? So Mario, for you guys, when you're trying to, you've got a lot of stakeholders, you're trying to bring a lot of folks together. How do you identify with those stakeholders the kind of problems and outcomes that we can solve together?
For the web, it's really interesting because we have our internal customers, which are all of the departments, and then we also have the residents, which is our other customer. So when you look at the website, which we call our digital front door, because that's how the resident accesses the city is through the website. That's how we get them there. So we want to make sure that the solution we're putting out there is the right solution for the right reason. So what happens a lot of times, because we don't get that direct feedback from the resident, that's going to the department. So there's times where maybe it's feedback from a single person, or maybe from a different source, or maybe from multiple people. But sometimes that feedback comes in and a solution starts to get made. There's times where maybe that might not be the best solution because we really haven't identified the real problem, but because that was the first solution, it starts to get built out. So when that request comes to us, we're kind of the last stop, so if once we look at it and put it out there, that's live to the resident. That's now their experience. So what we try to do is take a look at that solution that's being submitted to us and kind of reverse engineer that, so we'd like to say shift left or take a step back and start to question that solution. Okay, so why this, why that? And so there's a technique called the 5 whys in UX design that kind of does that for you. So we try to implement that a lot and just ask questions. So why this, why that, why this? A lot of times we'll take it back far enough to where we identify the true root of the problem. So then we end up shifting the solution a little bit, maybe tweaking it, but it really comes down to collaboration between us and the department to leverage their subject matter expertise and our UX experience and education to put that best foot forward in the digital front door. So that's kind of how the steps that we take in trying to identify the true problem and then give the good solution out there for the resident.
Y'all, I could stay up here and talk to you all day. This is awesome, but I think they're going to pull the hook on us here in a second. So can everybody give me give this panel a hand? What a great panel.
All right, so we're about to take a little break, but we wanted to have some fun giveaways for you. Who wants a free lunch bag? Yeah, okay, hands went up. Okay, good. Well, it's if the odds are in your favor kind of thing. So we're gonna do a raffle. I'm gonna shake it up.